evening, friends, and welcome to tonight's edition of Insight. I'm your host, Pat Gagliardo, and as always, I'll be taking your calls a little later on in the program, and I will answer your questions on things that are happening in your life. But first, the topic tonight is herbs and their medicinal uses, and how can taking the natural route help us? That's the topic of this evening. My guest is from the western part of our beautiful state of Connecticut. She is the proprietor and also the tour guide of the SunDial Herb Garden in Higganaum, and it's my pleasure to welcome her to the show. Good evening, Mrs. Ragna Tischler Goddard, and thank you so much for coming. Ragna, the very first question I'm going to ask you, of course, this evening is how or why and when you yourself became involved in herbs.
Well, actually, I grew up with herbs in Europe, and I never really thought much about herbs as being something special. It simply was something part of my upbringing, was always there, and only actually when I came to this country, I came in contact with people who had questions about herbs. It was something new to be investigated. That's when I actually realized that there are some people they are not aware of the medicinal uses of herbs, and one way of sharing this was actually opening our private gardens to the public on weekends. And out of this arrangement eventually evolved the spot which is known today as the SunDial Herb Garden, which then expanded from the gardens into a tea room and into a shop. And but for me it started actually in Europe. And I grew up as the granddaughter of a botanist professor and the daughter of an ecologist professor. And there, in addition, were several physicians in the family. And so conversations evolved around medicine and modern drugs, as well as herbal botanical drugs.
So it's just natural for you.
That's right. I didn't really study it in the classic sense. I'm not a physician. I do not prescribe, but I can direct people to the right plants and right information and right books so that they can actually find a solution to some of their problems.
How did you wind up at the SunDial in Higganaum? What led you actually to that area and why?
Well, by profession, I'm actually a graphic designer, and this is what I studied in Europe, in Germany, and in England. And then I moved a little bit over 20 years ago from London to New York to work as an art director and graphic designer in this big city. And that's where I met my husband, also graphic designer. And when we actually felt that city living wasn't totally satisfying, and position with a publishing company came up for my husband in the Middletown area, that's when we decided to move from the big city to the country. And I still remember when we made this move, and all our New York friends shook their heads when they said, "You mean you're going to move to a spot called Higganaum? We can't even find it on the map." And they also added, "Well, you know, there is no action in the country. There's nothing to do. You will very quickly regret this move to the country." Well, as it has turned out 20 years later, city people are fleeing the cities, moving or visiting the country for relaxation.
They're finding it on the map now.
Exactly, they are finding it on the map. They're finding Higganaum. They're finding a spot where they could enjoy an afternoon tea served in the European tradition, combined with a tour of the gardens. And with this comes an introduction to medicinal herbs and the enjoyment of tea, also the medicinal aspect of tea.
Let's talk about the gardens for a moment, if we may, Mrs. Goddard. I know that there's three distinct gardens. One is the knot garden, one is the main garden, and the topiary. Can you kind of expound on that a little bit for myself and, of course, our viewers?
And yes, well, actually, when we made this move to Higganaum, we bought an 18th century farmhouse. And when we moved there, this house was just simply situated on an endless lawn, a situation that you see very often when you travel around anywhere. And as a European, it was not satisfying to me. A garden had to be placed into a landscaped environment. And so I began the gardens and I created them like outdoor rooms. So the gardens are all designed with vistas, with special viewing areas, and an axis that's aligned with the house. So when I give a garden tour, people are taken from one garden to another garden to specific areas which create these long views and the illusion of depth and this feeling of not just stepping onto a bed, but walking into a three-dimensional arrangement.
You offer tours then in the light there.
Exactly, right. And so actually this experience of walking from one garden into the next, being surrounded by a garden with pleached arbors and fountains and trellises, you actually enter in an environment which is also conducive to relaxation and meditation. That is also part of herbal medicine.
Absolutely.
And then actually during this walk, I will point out various herbs which may be beneficial for various medicinal or treatments or just for the enjoyment, because everything will be involved. Your senses, the scent, the taste, and the visual enjoyment, and the sound as well. So it's a complete environment, and that is actually part of true healing.
Absolutely, and myself, I know meditation, the definite benefits of relaxing mind and body together, and I'm definitely coming out there this spring. I know we talked about it, but I am taking the weekend to come. And let me expound on that too a little bit. What exactly is available in the way of medicinal herbs? I don't expect you to give us a complete list, but can you give us some insight of what?
Well, the way you can actually use herbs, they can be taken directly from the garden, or some are wild plants. Actually, some of your so-called weeds are herbs. We'll be talking about that in the minute. And the most important one I should mention right away is dandelion. You know, those who have a lawn are not very fond of those particular weeds, but it can make a difference in your life in many different ways. We'll talk about this a little bit later.
Let me interrupt you just for a moment, Mrs. Goddard, because, you know, my heritage, I'm from, obviously, I'm from the Italian descent, and I can remember from when I was a child, my mother going out and cutting down the flowers part of the dandelion and going in the house and making like a dandelion patty out of the flowers. And I remember them tasting very sweet, and my mother saying, it's good for you, it's good for you. So what exactly does the dandelion root do for you, or the flower part of the
Well, actually, the most important components from the medicinal point of view is the root and the leaves. And now, especially at this time of year, Europeans talk about a spring tonic, cleansing. That is actually the first thing that you should do to kind of begin with the spring season, to look at yourself, to get rid of those extra ballast from the winter, and start with a cleansing procedure. And dandelion root is a specific for the liver, and the liver helps to remove toxins from the body. So if you don't really have to go to a shop, herb shop, and buy the dried root, you can actually go out into your yard, take a knife and cut some of those dandelions out of your lawn, try to get a little bit of the root as well, and with some of the leaves and the root cut up into small pieces, simply put it, really, actually all you have to do is put it into your teapot, just the fresh root and leaves. Pour freshly boiling water over it, and now let the whole thing just sit and steep for 15 to 20 minutes. And then simply pour it through a strainer into your cup. And make sure you drink this in the morning, before breakfast, on an empty stomach as a cleanser, and then 10 minutes later proceed with your breakfast. Keep it up for about a week, and you will notice that you have an increase in energy. You will notice that your digestive system functions better. You will also notice that your complexion improves. And this is just the ordinary dandelion, and that's where herbal medicine...
Just right out in your front lawn.
Actually, of course, there's always scientific work being done, and some of those old-time favorites are constantly tested in laboratories around the world to actually, I don't know what they're trying to prove, but to actually give it the official stamp that this is really a medicinal herb. And, well, they have actually found that dandelion leaves supply you with more vitamin A than carrots. They are very high in vitamin C and B, and much more so than most other greens and vegetables that you normally add to your everyday diet. So we're beginning right there with our backyard.
Okay. Well, you've told us what we can do and what we can drink for the toxic ends of things in the cleaning out process. What about now as natural energizers? What can you tell me about ginseng and ginsana? I hear this commercial advertised all the time. And by the way, I do take it. I was made aware of ginseng many years ago, and I do take it. And I want to know exactly what are the properties and exactly what can they do to help with a natural energizing.
And well, ginseng is a particular plant, again the root in this case is used, which will energize your system quite differently compared to coffee. Ginseng will not give you a quick lift and a sudden drop the way coffee would. Ginseng actually has an effect on all of the organs in your system, so it actually tones your system.
Where is it grown?
Well, actually there are several regions in the world today, but originally it was used in China, and it's one of the herbs that it goes way back, thousands of years, and has been used by the Chinese. And now what is important to understand is when you use ginseng, don't expect a sudden jerk of energy, kind of like
a quick lift.
A quick lift. No, actually, you will not notice anything at all if you use ginseng on a regular basis and actually perform under a normal workload. But if you suddenly have to put in those extra long hours overtime, that's when you can draw from reserves you never thought you had. So actually, this simple root will help athletes who perform in competitive sports and need this extra shot of energy towards the end.
Better than steroids, I take
it then. Certainly, and they will not be disqualified in international competition. And in addition, I have noticed with some of my customers, people who work night shift, and they reported back to me that the hardest is to work and function during those early morning hours, 2 or 3 in the morning, and that's when ginseng has helped them a great deal.
You take ginseng, I take it just by itself. I don't take it with any other tinctures of anything or any other kind of properties from any other kind of root or flower or whatever. But I do want to ask you, of course, about the cayenne, and if there is a certain mixture with that that's also helpful.
Well, the cayenne pepper is something that very few people are aware of. Is also an energy giver, but it has many additional benefits. And I'm not talking about the cayenne that you get in the supermarket. That will not do for you very much from the health point of view. There is an extra hot cayenne that is available in some herb places, known also as the bird eye pepper, that's extra strong. And that will actually give you many different benefits. First of all, if you have suffered all your life from a very poor digestive system, that most foods don't agree with you, that you feel sluggish, exhausted after a meal, you have indigestion, you have a lack of energy, everything tying in with a poor metabolism. That's actually when cayenne comes in. And even if you have reached a point where you have actually stomach ulcers, even then cayenne will come to your rescue. And actually what it is, I take it with me in my handbag at all times, just one never knows when one needs it. This little container is just a simple powder. It's just, there already we have a little bit here, and you can see it just doesn't look any different than any other cayenne powder.
It's awfully hot.
If you put your hand in there and on your tongue, you will notice the difference. Now, the interesting thing is, just let me explain how it actually works.
Well, let you hold on to that thought, because we have to take a word from our sponsors, Mrs. Goddard, but I definitely want to hear about it. And listen here, all of you diet sufferers out there, I sympathize, I empathize, and when we come back, please stay tuned. We're going to ask her about a miracle diet mixture. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Hi, and welcome back. Those of you who may have just tuned in, we're talking with the the lovely Mrs. Goddard from Higganaum from the SunDial Herb Garden. And before we went to break, we were talking about the cayenne pepper. Forgive me if I'm not saying it exactly right, cayenne pepper. And I would like you to finish that statement for us, please.
We were looking at it and just realized it doesn't look different from any other kind of cayenne, but what I have with me is a specially hot version used in herbal medicine. And the way this works, if you have a weak digestive system and if you eat bland foods, the food actually just sits in your stomach undigested and can antagonize the lining of your stomach. And instead of being helped by a bland diet, actually your situation worsens and the stomach ulcers can actually increase and become more painful. Now, in contrast, if you flavor a dish with cayenne, when cayenne comes in contact with your tongue, you notice a hot sensation. That is very important because that will activate the salivary glands. And that in turn will trigger the production of digestive juices in your stomach. So by the time food enters your stomach is prepared to digest the food swiftly and will not antagonize the lining of your stomach. Actually, cayenne has a built-in mechanism that will prevent and heal intestinal and internal bleeding. So it actually is very beneficial with someone for
gastric problems or ulcer problems. That's
also,
incredible.
you will also notice if you have eaten a meal, a hot meal, a meal that has been flavored with cayenne, you will not feel tired after meal. And you see, because the cayenne helps with the digestion and will not draw energy from your head, your hands and feet. That is blood that will have to be transported to the stomach region, which is normally the case with a bland meal, in order to get the entire digestive process going. Cayenne will keep an even balanced system for you going. It will help with people that have either too high or too low blood pressure in addition. And so it's an all-round wonderful herb.
Sounds like certainly a wonderful, magical, actually, herb. I know I asked you about the diet pill, but I think we're going to go right to the phones, and I'll let some of our viewers get that out. But remember, we are going to ask her about this diet mixture. So if I don't get it out, I hope that one of the callers will. And thank you for your patience, callers. I'm going to go right to the lines. Go ahead, Kibby from Mystic. You're on.
Yes, good afternoon, Pat. I have a question. What herb would you suggest for a soothing herb, a relaxation herb?
And it depends on whether you are looking for an herb that you want for your stomach or something for your nervous system. Is this can you give it a more specific description?
A nervous system. Something after you come home from work and want to relax. What would you suggest?
Well, actually, I brought something along here with me. This is a mixture, an herbal tea that I actually recommend. And it is a blend of valerian root, which acts directly upon your nervous system. In addition, the ingredients are fennel and caraway. Both of them are carminatives, so they are soothing to the stomach. And then there is peppermint added, which also is good for the stomach, and in addition gives you a good taste and flavor. Now, the interesting characteristic of the valerian root is that it acts directly upon your nervous system and relaxes the muscles of your body. So it will not cloud your mind, so you will not feel drugged, so you will totally be relaxed.
Thank you very much, Kibby from Mystic, for calling.
Great,
go ahead, Rhonda from Woodbury. You're on the line.
Yes, I was wondering, are there any herbs that can be used as blood thinners?
And yes, actually there is a specific that is very often used, which is called red clover tops, which are either taken as a tea or as an herbal tincture. Now, an herbal tincture is an extract of the plant with a pure grain alcohol base. And you use just a few drops to a glass of water, and you would take it that way, and it will be immediately metabolized. If you were, in contrast, take it in pill form or capsule form, it will have to first be converted into liquid form by your body, so it takes longer to be metabolized. But as a tincture, it's immediately absorbed by your system.
And how do you spell that?
And
Is it clover?
it's red clover
Oh.
tops. That's, you know, just the way it's, you know, it describes it.
Oh,
so
tops.
tops.
T-O-P-S?
It's just the top.
Opposite of bottoms.
That's right, exactly.
Okay.
And what it actually looks like, these tincture bottles are just simply bottles like this, with a little dropper. And you would just take a few drops and add it to a glass of water.
Can that be
Thank
good?
you. Thank you very much,
Thank
Rhonda.
you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Go ahead, Jenny from Mystic. You're on the line.
Hi, Pat.
Hi,
I
yes.
talked to you just the other day, Saturday, and you picked up that we had a daughter that was very ill. She has multiple sclerosis. You told me that if she improved herself nutritionally, she should feel better. I wondered if your guest could tell me what nutritional medication she could take.
I'll let her answer that.
Yeah, there is nothing really specific that will cure it, but there are a number of herbs you can add to your diet to actually strengthen your entire system. I would first of all really start with herbs, with some herbal teas, and among them I would really recommend ginseng, which has an overall effect on your entire metabolism to actually really strengthen
I can attest to that.
And then you may add other herbal teas that help with the digestion. Actually, right now, I would add to the diet, we just talked about dandelion root tea. That is a wonderful spring tonic. If you can increase the function of your metabolism by first cleansing, that means aiding the liver to get rid of toxin, then your body will absorb nutrients better and your energy level has increased automatically.
Thank you so very much, Jenny from Mystic, and thank you for the feedback as well. Go ahead, Dorothy from Columbia. You're on the line.
Yes, hi.
Good evening.
I have a lot of trouble with digestion, so indigestion actually, so the cayenne pepper sounds wonderful. And she did not say how to use that. Do you put it on your finger or do you make a tea?
And well, it actually can be used in many different forms. First of all, you can actually just add it, just a pinch, I'm talking about a pinch, minute amount, to simply a glass of water. You can add it to an herbal tea. For example, licorice tea. Licorice root in itself is wonderful for weak stomach. So by actually making a tea from the licorice root, actually I brought some licorice sticks along, but if they were cut into small pieces, you can actually make a tea with this. And then you add a pinch of cayenne pepper to it. Drink it as a tea. In between meals, you can actually flavor a meal directly with it. You can add it to just about anything. Or, for example, add it to vegetable juices, like this V8 juice that you get in the supermarket. Add a pinch to it, and it tastes like you have a little Bloody Mary, cocktail.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dorothy from Columbia.
Would you take this before a meal or after?
You can use it either before and after and during a meal. You can also actually use it for fatigue on a hot summer day. It will cool your system. It will warm you if you have a chill, so any time and in any form.
Thank you very much. I apologize for the callers that we couldn't get to, but it's such an interesting topic that we'll have to have Mrs. Goddard come back. I am going to have to say goodnight to her right now. We will have to take a word from our sponsors, but I'll be right back after the break to take your calls. So remember, too, in Connecticut, and you must dial the complete number, friends, please, 1-800-443-TV26. Out of state, 203-444-2626. I'll be right back. Thank you, Mrs. Goddard, for coming.
Thank you.
Hi, and we're back, and we're going to go right to the phone lines without any further ado. Go ahead, caller from Plainfield, you're on.
Hi, Pat.
Good evening.
I'm in a process of a job change, and I was just wondering if you think I'm doing the right thing. If I can handle this job.
Okay. Well, you took the words out of my mouth that time. I know that the job change is a must for you. The only thing is my mind's trying to juggle everything. So I already picked that up from you, but I will say this. The job change is a must. It is coming. And then I'm feeling like by the middle of the summer into probably the fall time of the year, things to work their own way out. So not to be concerned, but I feel less time involved at that time of the year, meaning you won't have all the other pressures and stresses. But yes, the job change is a must, because what you're presently doing is not giving you any contentment.
Right.
So,
Could I ask you one more thing?
Okay, go ahead.
I was just wondering what you foresee in my future love life.
Well, you're in something already that I feel communication's got a huge gap. Not discussing goals, not discussing ideas, expectations, and that kind of thing. And then all of a sudden I didn't feel anything. So it could be that recently you just broke something off, or that what you're involved in is on its way out. So, and that's all right, because by the end of the year, well, I want to say by the end of the year, if it's not definitely by 93, the end of 93, in the first quarter of the new year, love life is changing too. You're also working on self-image. I feel you're also doing something different about your body. And that makes me comfortable for you, and I can cheer you 100% because I know what that's like. So just bide your time. Things will be all right for you, caller.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. God bless. Good night. Go ahead, caller from Niantic.
Hi, Pat.
Good evening.
Good evening. I was wondering if you saw any changes coming up in my personal or professional life.
Aren't you in the midst of something already? Isn't something pending? The reason I ask you that, it's like a word. My mind is saying like a word, meaning you've been told or you're on hold and you're waiting, because my mind is saying a word and pending. So yes, to answer your question, personal and professional combined, I'm feeling as well, not separate. So they'll probably come together at the same time in May, end of May, June. End of May, June shows me a time for things to be initiated, to get started. So I'm going to tell you the same thing. Just be patient. Sit back. You have to utilize patience. You're hyper. You have a lot of hype about you. And I can, oh, believe me, I understand that as well. I'm the epitome of hype, so I understand and relate very well. But just patience, patience. There's something about your home coming to me as well. This may sound silly to you, but I have to go with what, of course, the visions give me and impressions. I'm looking out a window, and I see something there that has rope. Now, I don't know if I'm looking at a clothesline. I don't know if I'm at a dog runner, but I'm looking at something out a window, and I know that the topography begins to dip down. And the reason this comes to me is temporary, letting me know you're not staying here. Or if this is an area you're familiar with, you'll be leaving it. And that'll be all right. When the time comes, don't fear. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yep, good night.
Good night.
God bless. Go ahead, caller from New London.
Yes, I'm having problems with my career, and it's making me a nervous wreck.
Right.
I really don't know what to do.
Well, unfortunately, binds, chains come about you, which let me know it's symbolic that there's limitation in the work field that you're in. And my only concern about that is if in trying to make change, I feel bound, meaning an inability to make that change. And I think it's a combination of your limitation and the fact that there's nothing readily available. But there's a lot of demand in your present position. It's almost like not enough hours in the day to get the work done or get it finished. I don't know if you have to work by a quota, so to speak, but it's a lot of pressure, and it's a very thankless position. I don't feel a lot of gratuity in the way of increments of your wage or anything like that. That being the case, I'm so sorry to have to tell you I don't sense immediate change of a benefit, but be patient. I think 93 will probably remain for you rather uncomfortable and maybe not really settled. So if you're thinking of an entire change, completely out of the field, and maybe having to broaden your own horizon, so to speak, in the way of education per se. I don't mean going back to school. I just mean broadening your own limitations, getting, learning to do more, then I'm going to encourage you to do that.
Okay.
Okay? And if you feel like you need to start by summer, then get going.
Okay.
Okay?
All righty.
Okay. Good luck to you.
Bye-bye.
Good night, caller. Go ahead, Westerly, Rhode Island. You're on the line.
Hi, my question is, am I or is it possible for me to pass to the next grade
Pass to the next grade?
in school?
Well, let me ask you something then, so you can clarify why I would perceive the impression as I am. Is this something that came up for you before, recent, like in the latter part of the last year, and you were like borderline? My mind says stuck.
Well,
like,
last year I just barely passed. I passed on my MA Mat 6 scores.
Okay, that's why I got stuck and borderline, meaning you just made it. It's like you came right to the borderline. And I'm going to tell you, unfortunately, I feel you're facing some of those same difficulties again. But I don't want to give you dismaying news. Even if you don't make it this time, continue, please. You have too many distractions, caller. That's your problem. You're not focusing. Your mind is all over the place. Make your school, make what you're doing your priority. Okay?
Yep, thanks.
Thank you. Good night. Go ahead, East Hampton, New York. You're on the line.
Hi, thank you. I have a couple of commissions, competitions coming up for commissions, and I wondered if there was any possibility of my getting them.
Well, you know, very deservedly, I might add for you, because this came up before, and it's like you run neck and neck, my mind says. I don't know about both of them coming to pass for you, but I certainly will say with one, yes, because you worked triple time this time. It's like you really, really, really pushed. The energy coming to me is this last month harried. I mean, really, really energized and trying to make that, I use the word quota, but don't take it in the literal sense, but you know what I mean. You know why you had to do that, to get that riding edge. So I will tell you that I am comfortable with one. I don't know about the other. Okay?
Okay, and I wanted to ask you, there was a woman that was in my life and left over about a year ago. She's in Florida. I wonder if we're ever going to get together.
Well, a lot of undercurrent there, a lot of misguided info, my mind saying, meaning I don't feel as though you were on the same wavelength for probably the last 2 to 3 months, and that's why that relationship went awry. A lot of assuming, a lot of assumptions, and not enough, let's really talk about the problems, unfortunately. No, your love life will go on, but I don't believe with this individual, but I would like to see you tie up those loose ends so you can remain friends. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice Easter.
Thank you so much, sir. Same to you. Good night. And we have to take another word from our sponsors right now, but I want you to stay with me. When we come back, I am going to answer some of the mail, but then I will go right to the phone. So I implore all of you, please be patient. We're trying to get everyone in. Thank you. Hi, and welcome back. And I'm going to go right to the mail. We are going to read some mail for you right now. And this comes from Charles H. out of Summers. Charles, you asked me if there was any way I could help you, that you had so many pitfalls in your life and that you're desperately seeking to make some positive changes. I pray that you're watching tonight. Your letter brought tears to my eyes. It was difficult for me to read. Charles, your life has been made up of many pitfalls, and looking at your photo, sadness encompassed me greatly. Since you're about the age of 14, maybe to 16 years old, it was evident to me that you had searched and continue to search for acceptance and approval and love in your life. I feel that you come from a very dysfunctional background. Charles, there is a definite need for you to express through writing. I will answer you that. However, it is also important that you are educated first. And it is in how to write uniformly, like maybe where you could take a literary course, something that can be very beneficial to you in format. I feel that the writing that you could do would be extremely beneficial to others. Maybe your own pain, your own anguish, things that you've gone through could be useful tools into helping others before they become in similar situations and before serious mistakes could be made. Thank you very much for your letter, and God bless and good luck to you. The next letter comes to me from Jackie R. in Ledyard. You asked me if you're going to continue to do the same kind of work, and you also asked me about a different location. Same kind of work came to me. My impressions tell me that, again, education, I felt you wanted to really expand and do something a little bit more broad in your own field, going back to school or perhaps on-the-job training. And I kept getting something about fashion. Fashion came to me, and the fact that you like to put things together. Now, it could be fashion through interior design. It could be fashion through color, maybe through some sort of art, maybe through doing in the floral arranging. But you have something in fashion, and I felt a move to warmer climate to answer your questions. Thank you so much for your wonderful letter. The next letter comes to me from Terry S. out of Norwich. You asked me about a move to Florida and if you would be happy. Well, let me say this to you. In looking at your photo, Terry, I sensed a great deal of stress in your life, anguish for a very long time, and your happiness comes in spurts. A move to Florida is not a cure-all for you. It would help you, I think, maybe to be in a nicer climate, but it's not going to answer your problems. It's not going to be the source of comfort that you look for. Happiness, of course, starts within. And education in trade, I felt also very limited. So I cannot feel that career will support you as to the type of comfortable lifestyle that you seek. That was another thing I felt from your photo, that you'd like to have, you know, the finer things in life. I'm not saying you're materialistic. What I'm saying is you don't want to just get by. You want to get ahead. You want to have some comfortable things in your life. So wanting that, you're going to have to work a little bit harder for it. Thank you for your wonderful letter. God bless. And the next letter came to me from Dolores S. in Hartford. Dolores, I have to say this to you. Please, I can only answer the mail over the air. I'm sorry, I don't have the time. It would be humanly impossible for me to answer all letters personally. That's why we have this wonderful network, this wonderful program, Insight, so we can reach you and try to help you. All mail is answered. If you need to get a hold of me for a private consultation, please write to me and I'll be more than happy to send you a card. Thank you. And the final letter that I'm reading tonight comes from Lori O. of, I hope I'm going to say this right, Lori, Peconic, Long Island, New York. You asked me about a relationship, and I have to tell you honestly, I felt that your relationship is not constant. I felt you to be very lonesome in this 8-year relationship. The last 2 years of it, a lot of unrest. And it appeared to me that he did not look at the relationship as a priority, that he has some feelings of uncertainty about you and about where you fit in his life, and an inability to make that commitment to you. And I sensed another female influence. And what I mean by that is doesn't necessarily mean he's cheating or going out on you. What it could mean is that he's not comfortable enough to talk to you, so he is seeking advice or the comfort from somewhere else. You need to make your own decisions, because I know there's a lack of trust in you, and you need to work with people to answer your question about what you need to do in your own life and in your own career. I thank all of you so much for writing to me. And remember, too, if you want to have some subject matter presented, let me know that when you write to me, something you're interested in and you would like to see presented on the show. And also, if you want to, with our wonderful guests that come, if you need to find out some information, like our guest this evening has brochures, please write to me in a manila-size envelope. Of course, you must include a self-addressed stamped envelope as well, the same size, to fit back so I can send you these brochures. Just mark on the outside of your envelope the date of the program and the topic of the program. If you're going to write to me to ask questions about yourself or someone you want to know about, please send me a single photograph if you can. If you can't, that's all right too. And up to 2 questions, and please write to me at Insight, Post Office Box 425, Jewett City, Connecticut, 06351. And all mail, remember, is answered on Insight. Now at our new time every Tuesday at 6 p.m. We have to take a moment now to hear from our sponsors, but I'll be back with more of your phone calls after this. Hi, and welcome back, and I'm going to go right to the lines. Go ahead, caller from Essex. I'm listening.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for calling.
I'm just wondering, we have a pretty argumentative relationship, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering...
Excuse me, caller. I'm so sorry. And forgive me for sounding like I'm being rude, but I have to go with my impressions. They take priority. Argumentative is putting it mildly. You're in competition. There's a power struggle, and it's been going on. You are a very together woman, and I can't help but feel that there's some verbalizing going on to almost like, please don't think me crass or unfeeling, but I feel like the man feels like he needs to keep you in place or keep you down or to keep you... this isn't coming out the way I want it to be. What I mean is there's a lot of... it's almost like you can't even finish a whole train of thought or something. It's almost like there's a lot of defense, and it's like to keep you down, to keep you quiet, or to keep you... this has got to stop. There's definitely a need in your household. It's so dysfunctional. There is a need in this household for an intermediary. You're getting so much, I feel so much resentment from you and anger that if this continues, ultimately you're going to go your own way. The marriage is definitely in trouble. The relationship is definitely in trouble. And if this doesn't stop and there is an intervention with the resentment in you, you're going to pack up and you're going to be out of there with all these loose ends that will be a negative influence in your next relationship. Please, please do something about getting some insight here, some intervention. It is so necessary. This has been going on for too long.
Yes.
Too long. And you're angry.
Mm-hmm.
And you're angry. And you don't want to be angry.
Right.
Because I feel your anguish. So get some help.
Thank you.
God bless.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Go ahead, caller from Vernon.
Hi.
Good evening.
I'm seeing two men, and I wonder if either one of them will begin a serious relationship with me.
You really want me to answer that? You really want me to confirm that for you? It's almost like you asked me that question in my mind to juggling, and I'm going to tell you why it came to me in that regard, juggling. Neither one of them, I don't feel pizzazz from you. I don't feel that you're overwhelmed. I don't feel there's any passion. It's almost like you sit in your house and you go, well, let me see. This one offers this, and this one offers this, but. And it's this big but that's, there's this big question, I should say, rather, on, you know, like trying to choose between the two. And actually, neither one of them are what you're looking for. So I'm going to answer in this regard. I don't think either one of these gentlemen friends are a commitment for you. Okay.
May I ask you one other thing?
Quickly.
Quickly. I would like to know if my youngest daughter will have another baby in the next couple of years.
Ooh, indecision, my mind says. There's something else going on in her life that's not a cut and dry answer. I don't think she's able to make that a cut and dry, like, yes, we're going to plan for another child. My mind is showing other influence or something else in the way. And that in the way could be either medical or financial or a combination. But that's what came to me. But I won't say there won't be, but it just may not be in that time frame for you. Okay?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Good night. God bless. Go ahead, caller from Lisbon.
Hi, Pat.
Good evening.
I've spoken to you before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having some problems with my son, and I'm wondering if he's going to make a turnaround in his life or if problems are going to continue or get worse.
Well, I don't... First of all, this is a very deep subject that you're asking me about, and it's very, very personal and private, and I don't really think this is something I'm going to disclose to you over the air, and you know why I won't. There's something going on this past year. There's definitely an inability of communication, people not hearing or understanding, a lot of stress. He needs some direction because I feel he's floundering and just doing things that are definitely not constructive for him. So to answer you to say, do I see it clearing up tomorrow? No. Next week? No. Definitely needs, there needs to be a male focus point in his life that's strong and that's quality, and I don't feel it. That bothers me too. The young man is very sensitive and just energies are very sporadic and non-focused. If I've seen you before, then maybe it's time you call me again. Okay?
Okay. The other thing I wanted to ask, I want to further my education. Is that going to be a positive?
Money's. My mind says money's time. Yes, you will. Do I see you putting it into motion as quickly as you want it to? Maybe not, but it will come. The end of 93, 94 will be the time for you to put your own ideas into motion.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you. Good night. Go ahead, caller from New London. Hello? Did we lose that caller? Okay.
Hello?
Yes. Oh, go ahead, caller.
Hi. I just recently met someone, and I was just wondering if that situation would work out.
Boy, you're not kidding when you said recent. It's recent. Don't let your insecurities be a problem for you to let a relationship develop and know where it's at. I feel from you that you want it so almost desperately that you're looking for it to be all right, and you know there's warning signs already because you feel them. Something is going on that you're saying, you got this little bit of question about, so let this relationship build a little bit. Right now, I'm not super comfortable that you're, that you're real compatible, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.